Big news coming in from West Asia now. Israel carried out heavy airstrikes on the Hezbollah-controlled southern suburbs of Beirut on Monday. This is a breaking news that we are getting for you, and in parallel, the IDF struck a central terrorist from the Hezbollah terror organization in southern Lebanon. The strikes came after the Iran-backed group launched missiles and drones towards Israel in retaliation for the killing of Iran's Khamenei. According to the eyewitnesses, more than a dozen explosions rocked Beirut. Lebanese security sources said airstrikes hit several areas of the southern suburbs known as Dayeh. The Israeli military said it had begun striking Hezbollah targets across Lebanon and held Hezbollah responsible. This is the breaking news that we are getting for you, for all those viewers who have just tuned into D-Day India. Israel strikes Hezbollah. It also ordered residents of at least 50 Lebanese towns to get 1 kilometer away from the towns. Meanwhile, Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam condemned rocket fire launched at Israel. Salam said on social media, regardless of who is behind it, the rocket fire from southern Lebanon is an irresponsible and suspicious act that endangers Lebanon's security and safety and gives Israel pretexts to continue its attack on it. Israel used its laser air defense system against rockets launched from Lebanon. The laser dome or Itan laser system successfully intercepted rockets from Lebanon. This is the breaking news that we are getting for you here on DD India. Israel carried out heavy airstrikes on the Hezbollah-controlled southern suburbs of Beirut on Monday. And also the IDF struck a central terrorist from the Hezbollah terror organization in southern Lebanon. The latest strikes is in response to Hezbollah's attack. Lebanese Prime Minister condemned rocket fire launched at Israel. And another breaking news coming at this hour. The United States has strongly condemned Iran's missile and drone attacks in a joint statement with Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The country said that Iran's actions represented a dangerous escalation and endangered civilians. The leaders reaffirmed their right to self-defense. United States has strongly condemned Iran's missile and drone attacks in a joint statement with Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. And for more on this, I've been joined by my colleague Akshay Dongre on the phone line. Hi Akshay, very good morning to you Akshay. Israel launched barrage of strikes in Beirut in response to Hezbollah's attack. What is the latest that you are tracking on this, Akshay?
Well, this is now more news coming up when most probably we can call it, opening of another front as far as the war is concerned. Initially, Israeli government had issued statements to Lebanon that as long as they remain neutral and impartial to the conflict that is going on, there is no reason for the Israeli Defense Forces to attack Hezbollah or any territory that is part of Lebanon. But now what we are seeing is that Hezbollah has already preemptive strike Israel with their rocket force, and it was quite clear to the top leadership of Hezbollah that once Israel gets rid of the IRGC, Hezbollah and total decapitation of Hezbollah leadership and total annihilation of them as a threat was the next on target for Israeli defense forces. And it was also being speculated that if the Israeli regime can get rid of the IRGC in such a brutal manner, there is no way that they are going to let other challenges like Hezbollah and Hamas operate. And once the IRGC is out of the way, there will be no difficulty for the IDF to take out Hezbollah targets and the Hamas targets as well. So it became clear to them, and that perhaps is the reason why a response has been given by Hezbollah too, especially the officials of Hezbollah claiming responsibility for the attack, stating that it was in response to the killing of Khamenei and Israeli violations against Lebanon. Now, this is the official word that is coming in. However, the government of Lebanon has condemned these attacks. In fact, Lebanese Prime Minister calls the Hezbollah rocket attack on Israel irresponsible, because the Prime Minister Nawaf Salam feels that this kind of an attack can drag Lebanon into already going on conflict. However, the situation remains quite sensitive in the region, and Hezbollah feels that opening of a new front at this point in time is makes more sense to them, rather than waiting for the conflict between Israel and IRGC to get over, and then Israel taking them out with their far superior army and armed forces. So it seems that maximum damage infliction is the aim of Hezbollah. But as far as the latest information on this entire issue is Israel has said that it has targeted the senior leadership of Hezbollah in Beirut, and they have said that several senior figures from Hezbollah in Beirut area have been hit, and also hit another central person from Lebanese armed group in the southern Lebanon. So this is one update on it. Israel, according to Israel, they have hit 3 towns in southern Lebanon, and these towns are Haris, Nabate, Al-Faqwa, and Mefdoun. So these are the names of the towns that have been hit. The government have already issued a statement that southern Lebanon and the villages there should be evacuated by the people. Even Israel has called for it, because it will be stepping up the attacks against Hezbollah in the region. Well, it's not a point of surprise to Israel. They obviously, if they have calculated this attack for months, they would have anticipated this possibility of Hezbollah joining in with the attack, the Yemenis, the Houthis joining in the attack, and obviously they would have prepared for the worst. But it definitely increases the complications for Israel, which will have to handle 2 adversaries now, whereas the situation in Tehran also remain critical.
Definitely. Akshay, any information on the damage in Beirut by the Israeli strikes?
Well, it's widespread damage, Siddharth. As we have gotten information that 3 towns have been hit. These towns were hit because of the rocket attacks, and it seems that Israel has traced the trajectory of the rockets, tracing him back to these towns, and that perhaps the reason why calls have already been given to evacuate the southern Lebanon towns from the people, because the situation remains complicated as far as the conflict is concerned, and it's only going to complicate further with the situation worsening by each and every passing hour.
Definitely, and we are showing you these visuals. These visuals are live from Beirut. Akshay, stay with us. To all of our viewers who've just tuned in to DD India, these are the live visuals that we are showing you. These are the visuals from Beirut. Israel carried out heavy airstrikes in Beirut in response to Hezbollah's attack. And as our correspondent was saying, 3 cities, widespread damage in 3 cities. These are the live visuals from Beirut that we are showing you right now. Israel carried out heavy airstrikes in Beirut in response to Hezbollah's attack. And in fact, as our correspondent Akshay Dongre was saying, the widespread damage is caused in 3 cities. The airstrikes, in fact, the heavy airstrikes were carried out in Beirut. Situation remains critical. In the entire West Asia region. My colleague Akshay Dongre is still with me. Akshay, earlier on Sunday, the Gulf states also vowed to defend themselves against Iranian attacks and take all necessary measures to protect its security and stability. Any information regarding this meeting, Akshay?
Well, that is it. We have already the statement that has been given by all of these countries along with the U.S. They're obviously calling for cessation of hostilities while stating that they remain the right to now not only safeguard themselves but also retaliate. But the situation, Siddharth, remains obviously complicated because, as of now, the only targets in these countries are the U.S. bases. A majority of the cases, the targets have been the U.S. bases. But if there is a retaliation that comes in from these countries, then we can totally expect the conflict to widen, because then all the other targets of including the government offices of the officials of these countries will be a legitimate target for the Iranian regime as well. See, you have to understand the power dynamics here.
Yeah.
Iran does not have really anything to lose at this point because they are already fighting a superpower. They are fighting Israel, which is one of the most sophisticated army in the region. They already have an economy that is going down. They have their supreme leaders that have been killed. They have several of their top commanders who have been killed. Yeah, that is the problem here. But if you compare it to other Gulf countries that are housing U.S. bases, they have flourishing economies, flashing towns, big buildings, a lot of targets that can inflict heavy damage and in concentrated area. So that is why we have to take into account why it will be quite difficult for the Gulf countries to start launching attacks on Iran. Because Iran is a vast country, you can launch attacks on several areas. It doesn't have a Dubai, or it doesn't have an Abu Dhabi or a Kuwait City, which concentrates the elite and which concentrates the rich of the country. It becomes quite difficult for them to retaliate, because if Iran wants to fire a barrage of ballistic missiles on, let's say, Dubai or Abu Dhabi, the entire economies of the countries can come crashing down. So it becomes quite a sensitive time for these countries, and that is perhaps the reason why many of them have stopped short of retaliating and have only given out these statements of them having a right to retaliate.
This is a developing situation, Akshay. We'll keep taking updates from you on this, but as of now, we leave it there. Thank you so much for your analysis, Akshay.